Hello, good afternoon everybody. Good afternoon. I wish everybody could hear me, and I wish even though we are in ECQ status here in Metro Manila, I wish everybody could attend and listen to my discussion this morning. So for our first lesson, what I will discuss with you is all about the principles of counseling. Okay, so the principle of counseling. Hold on. The principle of counseling is focused on the kind of strategy that a certain counselor would apply. Okay, so we have different kinds of principles in counseling. First principle is the principle of acceptance. Second one is the principle of communication. The third is principle of empathy. And the fourth one is the principle of non-judge. Okay, so let's start. We have 6 and 7 pa pala. We have the principle of confidentiality, principle of individuality, and the principle of non-emotional involvement. Okay, so let's start with the principle of acceptance. Now, when we say principle of acceptance, this is to accept the patient with his physical and psychological and social and economical and cultural condition. So what is this? So whether you like it or not, dapat tatanggapin natin yung ating mga pasyente. Kahit disabled pa siya, kahit may mental disability pa siya, kahit ano pang sakit niya. No? Basta it talks about behavior of human being. Number 2, principle of communication talks about communication should be verbal as well as non-verbal and should be skillful. So in our ways of communicating with our clients, with our respondents, we should know, and we have to know the proper language and the proper words that we are about to use in order for them to, follow our instruction and in order for them to listen with our words. Number 3, the principle of empathy. So in this principle of empathy, this means that instead of showing sympathy or put yourself in patient's shoes and then give reflection accordingly, the empathy is the ability to identify with a person. Okay? So empathy focus on how we're going to identify our clients. Okay, for example, yung client natin is a rape victims. So we identify our clients because he is a rape victim, and our reflection and our advices should be based also to the scenario of what the person is going through. Example, rape victim siya. So ikaw as a counselor, you have to pretend that you also have been in that kind of situation, no? And then after that, you have to give the proper advice to him. You have to give the direct and straight advices, na pwedeng makahikayat sa kanya o makamotivate sa kanya para maibsan yung kanyang mga nararamdamang pighati, diba? Another example, for example, the victim is the victim of COVID-19 pandemic. So how are you going to give advice and counsel with these kind of people? Okay, first, kailangan nararamdaman mo kung ano yung mga nararamdaman nila. Okay, you should tell them that here, because we are in the situation of pandemic, it is natural for us to feel stress and to feel uncomfortable with our surroundings because we don't have source of money, we don't have a source of income. We're in lots of our parents or lots of our sisters and brothers na lay off sa trabaho. So one of the things para maibsan yon is for us to have the education, diba? Yung mga ganong mga advices. Another example, sa mga people who are drug user or drug abusive, in order for them to show that you have your sympathy and empathy with these people or these clients that you have to show them that I've been through, example, I've been through that kind of situation before, but I've overcome it for some reasons, like dito mo na sasabihin niya mga motivational instruction mo, kung paano ka na-motivate, kung paano nagbago yung buhay mo, kung paano nagbago yung pananaw mo sa buhay, di ba? Like for example, I've been through that situation, but I think walang nangyari sa ganong ginagawa ko, ganong practice ko. That's why in the end run, what I did is, is to try something new, which is become productive, and in order for me to become productive enough, ganon. Those are advices that a certain person can be motivated, because mga drug users and abusers, these are the person who have lack of love, around them. So ito yung mga nawalan ng pagmamahal sa sarili nila, sa paligid nila, wherein they think they are the only person in the world who is fighting for themselves. And one of the source of strength for them is drugs, they abuse alcohol, they abuse drugs, so mga ganong mga scenario. But later on, after my topic, after my discussion, I want you to exercise counseling through your friends. What you're going to do is to interview, and then try to ask them and try to counsel them na mga problems na na-encounter nila. Especially now, we are in the ECQ, or Enhanced Community Quarantine, where everybody cannot go out of their shelters. So the government advice for each and everybody is to stay at home. So what are the following things na kailangan nating i-overcome, because this is very stressful, na hindi tayo makalabas, hindi tayo makabili ng pagkain natin, hindi tayo makapag-hanap ng pera pambili natin ng pagkain. This is quite very, very stressful. Number 4. Okay, so as we go on, meron tayong tinatawag na principle of non-judge. So this focus on the mental attitude, like do not criticize or comment negatively regarding the patient complaint. Okay, for example, I am your patient and I have mental disability, because I have mental disability, the tendency of the counselor should not tell that, oh, ikaw may mental disability ka, ganito, because it can demote the affective feeling of the patients, Kung meron tayong pasyenteng gano'n at alam natin, although he has mental disability or he is distressed person, it is not rightful for a counselor to tell negative thoughts and tell negative thoughts to his or her clients. Example me, example lang, nadidistress ako. Wag mo ko sasabihin na sira ulo, okay? Wag mo ko sasabihin ng negative things. Wag mo kong mumurahin or so whatever, because I am very stressful. One way for you to caught the attention of this distressful person is to talk to them nicely in a proper way. And there are skills for that, and there are strategies for that, And later on, I will discuss with you, and I will teach you how are you going to communicate with the person who is distressed, who has mental disability, and so on. Next, for number 5, we have the principle of confidentiality. So, confidentiality always focus not only to the problem of the patient, but also to the patient's name that you have to keep in secret, the problem of the patients that is strictly secret to everybody, and you have to assure that your patient is about the same, Anong about the same? You have to you have to respect the feeling of your patient. For example, nagsabi sa yung patient mo, last night I have been going to a certain problem, like my father is my father is acting lasciviously on me, or my father raped me, no, for 1 year already, something like that, no, kunyari lang. As a counselor, hindi mo siya pwedeng i-chismis sa ibang tao, because these are problems that should be strictly secret or confidential with everybody, diba? Even the patient's name, no? So, kami mga pasyente ninyo, sooner or later, if you will become psychology, you don't have to tell them the name, no? You don't have to tell everybody the name of the person na she, diba, has emotional problem, she is a rape victim, she is a drug addict, or so on and so forth. Kasi mapapahiya siya. Isa pa, this patient has a trust in you sooner or later, if for example naging guidance counselor kayo, na ikikip nyo yung kanyang sikreto. Number 6, principle of individuality. So, this refers to treat each and every patient as unique and respect them in his problem as well. Usually, guys, no, sa counseling naman, yung mga taong kadalasang lumalapit sa mga guidance counselors ay yung mga taong may problema. No, problema sa bahay, problema sa love life, problema sa pera, problema kung saan problema. And as we go through as a human being, hindi tayo nawawala ng problema. This problem make us stronger every day. And the more we encounter this problem, no, the more na nagiging matalino tayo. But there are some people that they cannot handle their problem wisely. That's why they need guidance counselor. And if you become a guidance counselor, sooner or later, treat your patient with respect and unique, no? Be friendly with them, respect their, respect their thoughts, no? Respect their feelings. Hindi nyo, kapag magsasabi pa lang sila sa inyo, aawayin nyo na sila. So, hindi pwede yun, diba? Number 7, principle of non-emotional involvement, no? Realize of not getting involved with patient and avoid getting carried away with these feelings. Now, whenever the patient is telling you or sharing stories about what he has been going through, wag mong pakialaman, diba? As a guidance counselor, you have to be a good advisor, and of course, you have to be 101% good listener, because that's the main thing that you have to do. You have to listen to your clients. Okay, so we have the basic principle of counseling process. According to McDaniel Shaftal, counseling process is based on some basic principles. Okay, first, principle of acceptance. According to this principle, each client must be accepted as an individual that deals with such. The counselor should give due regard to the right of the client. And then for letter B, the principle of permissiveness. Counseling is such a relationship which develop optimism and the environment shape according to the person. All the thoughts accept and the relative relationship of counseling. So, pag sinabi nating permissive, as an individual, you have to tell them whether they are giving you their full trust and honesty to tell the truth about what they have been going through. Okay? So, this shape the person accordingly. Diba? And then for letter C, we have the principle of respect of individuality. All school of thoughts of counseling advocate for the respect of individual. No? So, lahat ng school of thought na dinevelop ng ating mga thinkers, nakaakibat sa kanya yung tinatawag nating respect for individual feelings and integral part, okay, of individual. So, this is one of the consideration of integral processing counseling. Next, letter D, principle of thinking with individuals. So, counseling emphasizes on thinking with individual. So, it is essential to undertake things for whom and why to think. It is the role of the counselor to think about all the forces around the client, to join the clients through process and work collectively with clients regarding the problem. So, in principle of thinking of individual, the counselor or the psychologists have to, have to talk and communicate with his clients differently. No, it is essential for the individual to think for whom and to think why, di ba? So, kadalasan niya ang strategy na ginagawa dyan is para magkaroon ng collective data and reasoning, yung tinatawag nating counselor do sa problema ng kliyente niya. Pinag-drawing siya, tinatanong siya ng tinatanong, di ba? Yun yung mga strategy. Letter E, principle of learning. Principle of learning focus on the assumption of counseling acceptance and the presence of learning elements of counseling process. So, sa principle of learning, dapat ma-integrate doon sa individual yung kung ano yung moral lesson na kailangan malaman niya, no? Kung ano yung process ng acceptance, no? Because we are human being and we deal with problem every day. So, tinatawag nating acceptance, emotional, wide emotional acceptance is iba-iba sa bawat tao, no? Letter F, principle of consistently with deals of democracy. These are principles that are associated with ideals of democracy. The ideals of democracy desires to accept person and want to respect the rights of the person. So, ano ba ibig sabihin nito? So, the principle of consistency associated with the right of the person. The right of the person to be respected, no? And the process of counseling is based on the person's respect and his process to accept individual differences. So, kahit baliw pa yan, kahit ngongo pa yan, kahit ano pang itsura niyan, kailangan respetuhin natin sila at kailangan tanggapin natin sila bilang ating mga kliyente. Okay? So, the goals of counseling first is to listen and keenly to the patient. Patient is the main goal. So, kailangan makinig tayo na mabuti sa kanila, kahit napaka-nonsense pa yun, pakikinggan natin dapat. Number 2, identify the needs of the patient. Example, parents need counseling for their children's behavior and problems. So, kapag gina-counseling natin yung tao, kailangan hindi siya makakaramdam ng sadness. Hindi mo siya kinokontra, di ba? So, dapat ma-identify mo yung pangangailangan niya at nasasabi mo sa kanya kung ano yung pangangailangan niya directly. Number 3, to make the patient ventilated his emotion properly and help him to be aware of his own emotion and encourage him to be independent. As a guidance counselor, dapat alam mo kung ano yung sasabihin mo sa kliyente mo. So, alam mo kung ano yung pagkakamali niya na kailangan sabihin mo. Alam mo yung mga bagay-bagay sa kanya at kung alam mo yung atake kung paano ka makikipag-communicate sa kanya ng tama. At dapat ini-encourage mo siya to become independent and as well as in-encourage mo siya na kailangan meron siyang strong emotional characteristics, no? At kung paano ma-develop yun. Number 4, main problem should be focused so that sub-problem should be identified by the patient himself. May strategy dito, no? Usually, mga guidance counselor ang ginagawa, drawing sila. At dinidiscuss sa kanila kung ano yung mga main problems. At kung ano yung mga sanga-sanga na naging problema nila. Example, no? Drug abusive yung tao. Ano ba yung problema niya? Drug abuse. Yung sub-problems, ano ba yung naging reasons? Paano siya naging ganito? Unang-una, sa pamilya niya. Pangalawa, sa mga anak niya. Pangatlo, sa paligid niya. Pang-apat, diba? Yung mga judgmental na tao. So, kaya siya nakakam up ng ganitong problem. And upon that kind of problem na ipaliwanag mo na sa kanya, alam na niya, ikaw na yung mag-generalize ng proper advice na pwede mong ibigay doon sa kliyente mo. Number 5, make the patient accept himself with his problem and help him adjust with it till it gets over. So, dapat alam mo kung paano mo kakausapin ng mga kliyente mo at alam mo kung paano mo sasabihin sa kanya na ganito ka mag-a-adjust, ganito mo i-adjust yung sarili mo dito sa problema na kinakaharap mo. So, example niya, no, yung may problema ang tao, lagi mo sasabihin sa kanya na hindi lang siya ang nakakaranas ng ganung problema. Although, meron pa nga iba dyan mga ganong mga strategy, meron pa nga iba dyan na hindi lang, mas mabigat pa dyan sa problema mo, no? And then, sabay basahan mo siya ng Bible, kung possible, mga ganon. This is one way for you to counsel the problem of individual. Number 6, to focus on the strength by studying the case and produce positive attitude in him and ultimately help him to reduce negativity. So, kung ikaw ay guidance counselor, strengthen mo yung paniniwala niya. I-strengthen mo yung positive attitude na dapat meron siya. At i-reduce mo yung negative thinking niya o yung negative thoughts niya. So, yun yung 6 na goal ng guidance counselor. But today, no, i-discuss ko na din ito. Okay. So, the content standard of my discussion is all about the principle of counseling, professional and practitioner of counseling, specific work areas of counseling, and so on. So, ang papagawa ko sa inyo is itong pretest. Sagutin nyo ito ang ganito. Looking back, so, can you recall the past situation that you encounter such problem and how did you deal with it? Mga ganun. Sorry, iba pala to. Can you recall important terms for looking back? Can you recall important terms mentioned in the previous module? In applied social science and introduction to counseling. If you can recall our discussion, place them inside the box. Yan. Nasagutin niya. So, in continuation with my discussion, no? Ulitin ko lang, no? Counseling as professional relationship between the counselor. Okay? So, ano ba yung professional relationship nila? At paano ba tong principles na to? First, listening skills. Kailangan daw yung counselor maganda yung kanyang listening skills, no? Kasi from the listening skills of the counselor, the knowledge is acquired. I-acquire niya muna yung knowledge niya. In order for the client situation cannot be gained without attentive and honest listening. So, sa listening skills din, students, nalalaman ni counselor kung ano talaga yung problema ng kliyente niya. Letter B, resistance. Okay, when we say resistance, this is the initial resistance of the part of the client in the beginning of the counseling process is just natural. This should not be taken personally by the counselor. Okay, example, no? Kung ang kina-counsel mo ay yung tawag dito, drug abusive na tao. Pag tinanong mo yan, at ang tanong mo, ikaw ba ay gumagamit ng drugs? Siyempre, sasagutin yan, hindi. Diba? Ang tawag doon ay resistance. Nire-resist niya, hindi dinideny niya. Okay? And it is natural. As a counselor, kailangan alam mo yun. Hindi yan sasabihin mo, oy, counselor ako, alam ko kung anong ginagawa ko, no? Ikaw ay drug, ganito. May judgment na agad. So, mali yun. So, sa resistance, pag nag-resist ka, yung kliyente, tanggapin mo na ganun talaga. Magre-resist sila, syempre, magdi-deny sila. Number 3, respect. A counselor should have fair, neutral, counselor should be neutral and fair, no? I mean, to his or her client's feeling. So, kahit ano pong pinagdadaanan ng iyong kliyente, dapat fair ka lang sa kanya, no? Letter D, empathy. So this is the process wherein the clients should have their proper understanding, the feeling of perspective,
Okay.
and the quality of rapport should be established along the process of both clients and the counselor. Okay. Next, clarifications, confrontation, and interpretation. This principal techniques is therapeutic intervention of counselor. Clarification is a technique of repeating or restating what is exactly the client is saying. Okay. So, kung may kliyente kayo, kailangan i-clarify nyo sa kanya o ulitin yung sinabi niya para tama yung i-advise nyo. Feeling in order to make it clear for the two of them to understand the issues better. Okay, so kasi pag hindi siya na-clarify na maigi, halimbawa may lumapit sa'yo, magpapa-counsel, hindi siya hindi siya na-clarify ng husto yung situation, ang mangyayari, magkakaroon ka ng maling advice or judgment. Letter F, confrontation. This is a skills that can help clients to have increased self-awareness in order to see discrepancies that the client is not aware of while interpretation of the counselor or understanding or assessment of the client's situation. This is purely based on the careful systematic methods of observation. So, pag kinompronta mo siya, isipin mo kung ano yung pinagdadaanan niya. And then, from that, you have to put your shoes on your client's shoes also. Letter G, transferee and transference. Transference is the process to related projection wherein client's reaction towards the situation reflects some important aspect of his or emotional life, while transference refers to the emotional perceptual reaction of the counselor towards the client. So, kailangan alam mo kung paano mo sasabihin yung mga dapat mo sabihin doon sa kliyente mo. So, next, gagawin nyo to. Counsel me. So, what are you going to do? So, imagine that you are in a problematic situation and you're planning to see a counselor for help. Number 2, fill out the table of what you think will be the best flow of counselor process where you are taking the role of the client. Okay? So, ganito yung gagawin nyo. What is your problem? Okay? So, beginning stage, kailangan mailagay yan. Factors. And what do you want to achieve after? And the plan of action. Diba? So, this is the pattern that you're going to do and you have to write it here. After that, ito naman ang gagawin nyo. The post test. Okay? So, hanggang dyan na lang tayo because it's ECQ time. Asynchronous class yung gagawin natin for the whole week. Thank you and stay safe at your home. Never go out of your home because COVID-19 situation, COVID-19 cases is going high every day. So, mahirap na magkasakit. And goodbye. See you again next week after Holy Week.